All right, so we'll do a quick demo of how the Elsa service works at some of our facilities in tracking patients and whether they're adherent to their medication or not in a completely distributed way. There are no databases that are storing the data. All of the data is stored within the devices and the facilities themselves, and it's shareable across the facilities. So I will start the app on all the phones. Okay, I've opened the app on all the phones. Okay, perfect. Let's look for one patient across all phones. We'll look for patient 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is a patient's ID information. So I'm just going to enter it in these 3 first. So let's search for it there. And in the same time, I'll be searching for it across the other devices. Okay, this is a patient that already exists. Right, so at the top we have the visits, the 3 most recent visits that the patient has had and at which health facility, and their current risk of non-adherence. At the bottom we can just continue and treat this as a visit and check whether we gave them antiretrovirals or they are symptomatic today, or both. All right, but we will save that for a second later. So all of this data at this point is now stored on all of the devices. They share the data. All of the devices that have access to this data are their own hosts of the information, and these are the health facility and facility owners. All right, so we'll just do we'll update the adherence on one phone. This is the patient's adherence, risk adherence algorithm. And we can say that this patient has been to secondary school, they currently have a job, they also drink a lot of alcohol, and they share drugs with their friends, but they are not experiencing any side effects and they properly understand their regimen. So a little bit of a 50-50 there. We'll calculate that. Okay, so there it is, it's updated across all devices. So this shows that this patient is at a high risk of being non-adherent, right? It's a little probability distribution there. We can then change the same data on the last phone. This time, let's say they have higher education, they have a job, they don't drink alcohol, they don't share HIV medication, they don't have side effects, and they fully understand their regimen. So you calculate there, it's going to update on all of the other devices across the entire network. So if it's the whole country, the whole region, all of the care and treatment records are now up to date through a concept called eventual consistency. Now let's do another experiment where we'll look for a patient that doesn't exist. Patient 333. Search for them there. I'll do the same thing on the other phones. And one more phone. Okay, we'll notice that the patient is nowhere to be found because this patient doesn't exist. So we can pretend as though the patient is visiting this facility here, the facility with this phone. What we'll do here is we can then say, okay, then let's just register this patient. And if we register this patient, let's say it's a male, the patient is male, going to facility A. We're currently in facility A. We'll say patient is male and the year of birth is 1980. Right, just complete that. Patient has now been registered without any visits and any risk adherence. What we'll do now is we'll search again in the other phones. Let's say we're now looking for the patient across the other devices. We'll do a quick search there. During the searching process, these other devices are asking for data from this device. So this is the device that brings the data to the network. We can do another search here and we can find it everywhere. And the same process happens if the patient leaves this facility. So while the patient is in this facility, let's just say that you gave them ARVs and they had some symptoms. We track symptoms for ARV resistance. Submit, we've created a new visit. The new visit automatically synchronizes to all the other devices. So all of the other devices have the most recent data. And if this patient then leaves and goes to We can search it here again, the patient will be updated. If this patient then leaves and goes to another health facility, let's say this health facility, and they do an adherence risk assessment. So they've gone to higher education, they have a job, but they also drink a lot of alcohol and everything else seems to be fine. We'll just calculate the risk of that. The risk will then update on this device as well as all of the other devices that are in the network. All right, so let's try a little experiment. Let's take this device offline. So we'll go into airplane mode there, just so we make sure that no data comes in or out. And we'll now look for another patient, 3334. Just so it's a little easier for us to type. We'll look for the same patient on the other devices. So whether the device is online or offline, we can clearly see that the data doesn't exist in the network. Now the power of this architecture is that data belongs to the people who the data belongs to and not to a central power. So what we'll do is in this same device that is currently, that's currently offline on airplane mode, we'll just go ahead and register this patient. We'll stick with the defaults there. Patient has been registered. There's a patient. We'll try what we did before, where we'll try searching for the patient on this device here. Let's search for the patient there. There's no patient, right? Patient 33 ending with 4. If this device then decides to stay offline, go home, let's close out of the app. They've now decided that, I don't know, maybe there's no network, or they've decided they will come back to work after a couple of days. We're just going to unlock the phone with our very secure password. And then we assume that we came back into network. So now we have network, Wi-Fi is connecting. Perfect. Let's open up the app. Let's get rid of that. That's for CTCs. We should still have access to the patient that we just added. So the patient we added was 4. Let's see if we can find the patient back at home first. Yep, patient is still there. Let's see if we can now find the patient at the other facilities. Yep, patient is there. And before we search for them on the other facilities, let's just add a visit here, just to notice that these two synchronize automatically. Yep, perfect. We will search for the patient here and on the other phone as well. So like that, the data has already been shared by all the people who need it, and only the data you need do you keep around and you can store it.